Hello, and welcome to our webinar on using ESSER funds for academic supports. I'm Ryan Kelly, and I'm a Principal Associate at Education Resource Strategies. ERS is a national nonprofit that partners with district, school, and state leaders to transform how they use resources, people, time, and money, so that every school prepares every child for tomorrow, no matter their race or income. Specifically, in furthering our mission in this moment of response to the disruptions to student experiences caused by COVID-19, ERS has created a series of guidebooks to support districts in strategically implementing high-impact strategies using stimulus dollars, with an eye towards sustainability. Our resource guide focuses on how districts might organize resources, including short-term ESSER funding, as well as staffing and scheduling, to support research-backed approaches to provide targeted academic supports to help students access grade-level learning, stay connected to school, and graduate on time. As a result of the pandemic, students have experienced interrupted learning and detrimental impacts to their mental health and well-being. Research has shown that in many districts, things like course failure rates and chronic absenteeism are increasing, and that many students feel disconnected from school. This demonstrates a clear need to provide additional academic supports to help students access grade-level learning and stay on track for graduation. In addition, schools need to find ways to help students reconnect to school in a way that reaffirms their interests and identities. Targeted academic supports are part of a set of foundational services that schools must provide for students, including high-quality Tier 1 grade-level instruction and frequent data collection and monitoring to identify students who need additional support. These other topics can be explored in other ERS guidebooks, while today's talk will focus on targeted academic supports in the form of additional instructional time and attention for those who need it. Academic support can take a wide variety of different forms or structures, but they should all contain 5 research-backed elements. First, they should have high-quality curriculum. The curriculum and learning should be aligned to grade-level Tier 1 instruction and standards. Students should continue to receive normal levels of core instruction. In other words, they should not be pulled out of core courses to receive their supports. Relationship building should be a component of the support. Strong student-adult relationships are associated with a range of desired academic and social-emotional outcomes. And strategic scheduling should allow for regrouping of students and keeping them on track for graduation. Across these elements underlies a critical watch-out, which is that research has shown that any approach that results in lowering academic standards or expectations for students can be detrimental. This includes replacing time they'd spend on grade level work with foundational work below grade level, or prioritizing time in homogeneous groups that can come with stigmas about performance. For this reason, you'll see us focus today on approaches that add time for students who need it, with the purpose of supporting students in accessing grade level work done in mostly heterogeneous groups. This talk and our full guidebook that goes into even more depth will focus on 2 approaches to targeted academic support that we've seen can be implemented in ways that are consistent with this important research that we just named. First option is a flex block, sometimes called a what I need block. And the second is to schedule intervention as a separate course that is paired or double dosed with a core course. There are 2 other approaches with significant research backing that you can learn more about in our guides: high dosage tutoring and acceleration academies. Those are also great use of ESSER resources and areas where we've seen many districts focus. However, we'll focus today on approaches that are embedded in the daily schedule of students because these can be most complex to organize staff, schedules, and other resources around. So let's define further what each of these targeted supports are. First, we have flex blocks. These are sometimes called what I need now, or the acronym WIN blocks. And these are time built into the schedule for all students and usually supported by all staff, with everyone in the building participating in activities that are differentiated for what students need, often in small groups and often supported by technology. Double dose courses offer extra instruction, sometimes in smaller groups, but not necessarily, to courses that students take, likely in place of study hall or other electives. So this is a paired course, usually designed to complement particularly high leverage courses in a student's academic career. For example, Algebra 1 in 9th grade, where student success can really change the trajectory of the rest of a student's high school course selection and their success. Flex blocks and double dose courses each have their own scheduling and staffing considerations. For example, in terms of scheduling, flex blocks require you to change your schedule to add time. This can be done by shortening or reducing existing periods or transition times. Double dose courses don't require those same full schedule changes to your school schedule. In terms of staffing, flex blocks typically require all staff in the building, usually including non instructional staff like counselors and some administrative staff to lead that time. This means that the length and frequency of supports can vary. Meanwhile, double dose courses usually require only staffing from a small number of instructional staff in order to add that extra support course within the schedule. Both strategies can be achieved through using external partners to provide push-in supports. So if that's available to you, that's something to keep in mind. The rest of our talk is going to dive into these two strategies in more detail, and we're going to start with flex blocks. Flex blocks are a strategy that have really blown up in popularity over the last 5 years or so. The idea is that there's a school-wide period that's used flexibly by students and teachers for academic, enrichment, advising, and social emotional needs. One of the promises of a flex block is that it creates opportunities for students to have more agency over their learning, with supported opportunities to identify needs and required supports and to advocate for those needs. Typically, many of the supports that happen during flex blocks are in small groups, which will have staffing implications that we'll discuss in a moment. Common approaches to support this include all hands on deck, with all staff pushing in during these times, sometimes using technology to provide instruction or enrichment opportunities to some students, and also leveraging external partners. To show a real-world example, this slide highlights a flex block implementation that we learned a lot from looking at Northeast Early College High School in Denver Public Schools. The school uses a block schedule, which you can see an overview of their schedule on the right of the slide. On Mondays, students take all 7 of their courses. On Wednesdays and Fridays, students have block periods for 4 of their courses. And then this leaves time so that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, students have block periods for 3 of their courses and also have time for flex blocks and a separate community building time. You'll see the flex block highlighted in yellow on the slide. Our guidebook lays out 3 key decision points in planning to add a flex block into your school schedule. The first is to determine the desired structure of flex blocks, including the level of student choice and flexibility. The second is finding dedicated time for flex blocks. And the third is leveraging staff and/or technology-based instruction to provide additional support and reduce group size. Today, we're going to talk in more detail about decision point 2, finding time and the different options you have for how it's structured in your schedule. You can go to our guidebook to see more about the ways that flex blocks can be used and options for leveraging staff to support them. Let's talk in more detail about the options for creating dedicated time for flex blocks. There are a variety of options for introducing a flex block into the day. Some of these are adding a standalone daily school-wide period, inserting the flex block into the lunch rotation, which is most achievable in smaller schools that only have 2 lunch periods, inserting the flex block into a rotating drop schedule, so students have 2 flex blocks over the course of a full week, and staggering staff arrival and departure to extend the student day without extending the teacher day. This is sometimes achieved with support and enrichment that can be provided at the beginning or the end of the day, but could occur in large group sizes as fewer staff are often available. We're going to talk through detailed examples for 2 of these options today, and you can learn more about the other options in our guidebook. So let's look at what the implementation of a standalone daily school-wide period can look like. This is the most common way that we've seen schools implement a flex block. On a block schedule, which is shown here, you can add a 30-minute school-wide block every day after first period. On a traditional period structure, you can add a school-wide block that's shorter than the existing periods. This can happen as many times per week as you'd like. For example, you can use time for the flex block 3 times a week and advisory twice a week, or any combination across the 5 days. As mentioned before, the flex blocks will be staffed with an all-hands-on-deck approach, pairing staff with the flex activities that match their expertise. And this approach provides consistent access to support and frequent opportunities for relationship building. One option that is perhaps more complicated is to utilize a rotating drop schedule. So imagine for a moment that students are taking 7 classes total, but on any given day, they have 6 classes in their schedule. And then they rotate through those 7 classes throughout the week. And after the 7th class, there's time for a flex block twice a week. So on Monday, they have classes 1 through 6. On Tuesday, they have class 7. Then they have a flex block after that. And then they start the rotation again with class 1, period 3. The benefit of this approach is that instructional staff are all available at the same time as students in order to provide academic supports. It is a little bit more complicated, which is one trade-off that you'd have to have for consideration if you're going to implement this option. And with that, we're going to turn to discussing the implementation of double dose courses. Double dose courses are often used to target a subset of students who could benefit from targeted additional support in one of their classes. Ninth grade algebra is a very common place where you see double dose courses. It's an important transition year, it's a gateway math course, and it's a wise place to allocate resources towards student success. Let's look at some research to tout the impact that double dose courses can have. So, Chicago Public Schools implemented a double dosing program in their ninth grade algebra courses that showed significant positive effects on test scores and long range outcomes. In their model, all ninth graders who scored below the national median on the eighth grade math exam took a full year algebra course along with a simultaneous algebra support course, usually taught by the same teacher. These teachers received additional support and had extra time to test new modes of instruction and practices that promoted complex thinking. And we found that students in the double dose treatment showed larger gains in algebra scores and had higher algebra GPAs. In the long run, these students also saw improved ACT math scores in the spring of 11th grade, higher high school graduation rates, and higher college enrollment rates. So, how do you implement it? Well, similar to FlexBlocks, there are three key decision points to implement effective double dose courses. First, choosing a course structure. Will the double dose be offered through a single extended time course or through one primary course and a separate support course? Decision two is how you staff it. Will students have the same teacher for both of those classes? And three, what are your crediting policies and schedule structures that allow students to stay on track for graduation despite them taking this extra course? You can refer to our guide to see some ways that crediting policies can ensure students stay on track. But right now, we're going to spend a little bit more time into considerations for decision points 1 and 2. So first, let's choose a double dose structure. So we have to answer the question, will it be offered through a single extended time course or through one primary course and a separate support course? Combined courses can make a more coherent experience and allows the instructor to weave in grade level materials during the support course, but this could risk tracking students into homogeneous classes. Another option is to separate the courses, which may create a less coherent experience overall, but may offer a better experience based on learning styles and attention spans of some students. In this case, students could be grouped heterogeneously for the main course and homogeneously for the support course. There's research out there that points to the benefits and risks of tracking students. So school leaders should consider and balance the risks of tracking with the benefits of targeted instruction as they make this decision, and continue to hold common grade level expectations for all students and use a high quality curriculum across groups. The second design decision here is about who leads the double dose course time. On the one hand, the same teacher could teach the core course and the support course. This would reduce teacher loads and make it easier for teachers to align support course instruction to Tier 1 content. It especially makes sense if the course is taught in one extended block. On the other hand, a different teacher could teach the support course. This allows teachers to specialize in either primary or support content, but it requires a lot more collaboration between primary and support teachers. Now that we've gone deep in two ways that schools can increase the academic supports in their school schedule, let's zoom out to consider challenges to implementation and opportunities with ESSER funding to support these shifts. The two approaches we've talked about today can help solve for some of the core challenges we've seen in our partner districts trying to implement more systematic student supports. Some of the most common challenges faced by districts we work with are listed on this slide. Limited flexibility in student schedules, staffing assignments, sometimes related to collective bargaining agreements, a limited supply of external partners for academic supports, and also impact on credit requirements in keeping students on track to graduation. Choices in how schools design and implement these interventions can help mitigate these challenges. The availability of ESSER dollars and the unusually high demand for additional academic support might mean that the next couple school years are an ideal time to invest in additional teachers who can provide small group instruction or offer additional courses or additional support staff to increase teacher release time. However, it's also a critical time to pilot and evaluate ways to provide academic supports in a more sustainable way. This might include building partnerships with community organizations or using lower cost roles in your academic support model. Much more detail on ESSER funding in the context of academic supports can be found in our full guidebook. Additionally, no matter what model or approach you use to provide academic supports, it's critical to monitor your progress and use continuous improvement cycles. The district should invest in rapid cycles of continuous improvement to answer things like what schools are having the most success, how can we share their effective practices at other schools, what are the challenges that are arising and how can they be addressed, Many more resources on continuous improvement can be found on the ERS website. While there are a variety of effective ways to implement targeted academic supports for your students, it's essential to be strategic and intentional about how the supports are scheduled, staffed, and funded to ensure a sustainable and effective model. You can find even more content on targeted academic supports in our full guidebook, including more details on how to sustainably use short-term funds to build strong supports in your schools, as well as real artifacts from districts successfully implementing these programs. We greatly appreciate all the work that you're doing for students and hope that you found today's webinar to be thought-provoking and helpful as you embark on or support others in expanding access to academic support programs using stimulus dollars in your district. We'd love to keep in touch, and if there are ways that ERS can support you or ways that we can learn from you, please reach us at any of the methods that are seen here on the screen. And a reminder that targeted academic supports is one in a series of high-impact ESSER investment strategies that we've created guidance on. We'll be diving into other strategies in future webinars. Thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you soon.